Hi everyone, welcome to another Yarn Scrap Friday with me, Laura, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to work this woven stitch. And this woven stitch is really simple and easy to do, and what I've done here is I've worked some different colour rows so you can see this different effect, but of course you can work it in one colour as well. But I've chosen two colours to create this pattern, just a green and a purple. This is a DK light worsted weight yarn, it's a yarn weight of 3. And with that, I'm using a 3.5mm E4 crochet hook. And it's also a good idea to have a pair of scissors and a yarn tapestry needle as well. That's one with a big eye at the end if you plan to make this into something. And this would be a perfect project for an Afghan or baby blanket, even as a bracelet, which I was thinking of actually making this into as well. If I made it a bit longer, it will call bracelet. But basically, what we need to do for this pattern is we just need to work to an even number of stitches. So let's begin. I'm going to undo this. Okay, so I'm going to start with my purple yarn, and you just need to work to an even number of stitches. So an even number, so that could be anything from 18 or 20, 22, 24, 26, so on and so forth, depending on how big you want to make your project, whatever you're making this into. So nice and easy, just an even number of stitches. 3, 4, so I'm going to work to about 22. 7, 8, 19, 20, 21 and 22. So I've just worked to 22, which is an even number. If you wanted to make this into a bracelet, you just need to measure that to the size of your wrist. So once you've got your even number, what we're going to do next is we are going to work one single crochet in our second chain from our hooks. So this is in US terminology. So in UK terminology, that's a double crochet. But we're going to go straight into our second chain from our hooks. We don't count the loop on our hook. There's our first chain, there's our second chain. So we're going to put our hook into our second chain. And this the same thing applies no matter how many chains you've done, as long as it's an even number. I'm going to do a single crochet, one single crochet. Then what we're going to do is we're going to chain one, and skip one. Then do one single crochet in the next chain. So we're going to chain one, skip a chain, then in the next chain, do a single crochet. And we're going to repeat that all the way to the end. So we chain one, skip a chain, one single crochet, and repeat that all the way to the end. So chain one, skip one, one single crochet in the next chain, chain one, skip a chain, one single crochet, chain one, skip one, 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 one single crochet, and repeat this all the way to the end. Skip one, and you should end on a single crochet in the last chain. So chain one, there we go, skip one, then you've got one stitch left, single crochet. So you should end on a single crochet, you should have that last stitch available for your last single crochet, no matter how many chains at the beginning, as long as it was an even number and you worked into that second stitch from your hook. So that's the end of our first row. So what we're going to do now is we're going to introduce our next colour. You don't have to, obviously, you can just carry on with the purple or whatever colour you're using. But if you want to introduce a new colour to make it really unique, we introduce the colour in the chain one on the turn. So I'm going to place my next colour over my hook, and I'm going to bring that through my little loop. Let's pull the purple down, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a nice loose chain one. So a nice loose chain one. Now each new row we start off with this nice loose chain 1. Then we're going to turn, and we need to find our first chain 1 space. Okay, it can be a little bit tricky to see, but if you just count 2 over, 1, 2, you should see quite a big gap below that little chain 1 that you did. So find that gap, and we're going to put our hook into there under that chain 1. It's called the chain 1 space. So we're not working into any stitches, we're working into the spaces below. So go into there and do a single crochet. And then we do the same pattern we did before. We do chain 1, skip that single crochet there, that's actually a single crochet, just about to see the little V on top. Next to that is the chain 1, and into the chain 1 space below it we're going to work our single crochet. And repeat that all the way across. So chain 1, skip 1, find the chain 1 space. And do this all the way to the other end. But obviously when we get to the other end, we want to join our purple, but our purple tail end is this end. So if you don't want to end up having to tie in loads of tails at the end of your project, what I recommend is carrying this yarn. So trying to make out this is part of my tutorial, but I actually just forgot to carry it. So I'm going to go back to here. So this is where we've got our loose chain 1. Okay, we've done our chain 1 there at the beginning, and we're going to bring up our purple. So bring it up from the front like that, and we're just going to sit it on top of our work. Okay, so we've done our chain 1, a nice loose chain 1, and now we're going to find our first chain 1 space, which is there, and do our single crochet. Okay, and as you can see, that is being carried and hidden inside your project. Don't worry about how messy it is at the moment. Try and keep it on top. We can tighten it up at the end of our row, as long as our rows aren't too long. So then chain 1, skip the single crochet, find the chain 1 space, put your hook into there, keeping that purple yarn on top, and do your single crochet. Just give it a little tug if you want, just keep it nice and neat. Chain 1, skip 1, find the chain 1 space, and do a single crochet. Chain 1, skip the single crochet, 1 single crochet in the chain 1 space. You can see it just in there. Do a single crochet in there, wrapping it around the chain 1 and the yarn on top. Chain 1, skip the single crochet, find that chain 1 gap, chain 1 space. Chain 1, skip the single crochet, 1 single crochet in the chain 1 space, and just repeat that all the way across. Chain 1, single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet in the chain 1 space, which looks like the last chain 1 space. However, you've got a bit of a gap on the end there, so what we're going to do a chain 1, and we need to put, if you remember, there's a tiny little chain 1, that first chain 1 we didn't work into. If you remember, when we worked into our second stitch from our hook, that first one got skipped, so we need to find that little first one, which can be quite hard to see, and we need to work a single crochet into there. So if you can find that last single crochet, which is just there next to this stitch here, you can see a little tiny little gap just there, a little dark patch. I'm just going to pop our hook into there. And if you find it hard to see, just work into there as neatly as you can, just so you get that single crochet on the end. It's the only time we have to do that. So what we're going to do now is, because we carried our purple yarn, it's sat here nice and neatly on the end. So what we're going to do, if it's a little bit like loose or doesn't look very neat as you've carried it, you can use this time to just pull your purple. It will concertina in, but just pull it and then straighten that out. And that should remove any little loops or anything that doesn't look neat. Okay, when you're happy, we shall carry on to the next row. And it's exactly the same thing for the next row. We're going to drop our green, pick up our purple, and we're going to do a chain one with a little purple. I'm not going to count that as a stitch though. And then just pull the green tail in to make that nice and neat. Then we're going to do a nice loose chain one. So do our nice loose chain one at the beginning. Do that at the beginning of every row. Then we turn, we want to bring up our green, so don't forget to carry your yarn. So just bring that up from the front. Pop it on top and do the same thing again. We're going to find our first chain one space. So if we move this green yarn out of the way, there's our first single crochet, which is above that V, that little point. Next to that is going to be your chain one space. So it's a little bit harder to see, but we're going to work into there. So let's get this green at the top and we're going to work into there. Literally between the green and the purple is our gap. Okay, let's put our hook into there. Okay, so it's literally going in between the green and the purple. That's where our chain one space is. And do our single crochet. Okay, and we do that all the way across. So we chain one, skip the single crochet, which is where that V is. Next to it is our chain one, and our chain one space is below. So if I can just pull that apart, you can see the chain one space is in there. So it's literally between the green and the purple. And do your single crochet and do the same thing all the way across. So chain one, skip the single crochet, one single crochet in the chain one space. And that's basically the pattern. Let me just repeat that all the way across. Chain one, skip the single crochet, one single crochet in the chain one space. I'm carrying that yarn as I go. See that green yarn's being carried. Chain one. Just need to make sure that that carry yarn is on top of your hook whenever you work into the stitch. Chain one. It's a little bit fiddly when you carry the yarn, but it saves you a lot of work at the end because no one likes tying in those tails. So let's continue to the end, chain one space, chain one, single crochet into the chain one space, and at the end, when you get to the end, there is a chain one space. If you remember, you do that loose chain one at the beginning. If you remember, that's why it's a good idea to keep it loose. We need to work a single crochet in there, so we do our little chain one first to get us over there, chain one. That's our last single crochet. We skip that and we need to just work into there. So always make sure you go to the left of this V. So you don't want to go into this single crochet by accident. Make sure you're to the left part of this V. Place your hook and it should hopefully just pop into there. That's why it's a good idea to keep it as loose as you can. Okay. And do your single crochet, and then you can pull your green yarn so it concertinas in and then straighten it out to make sure it's nice and neat. Okay, so there we can see our first little dots of green coming through and our pattern coming together, and then we just continue exactly the same thing. So we drop our purple, bring up the green and do a little chain one just to get that green on the go. Pull the purple down to nice and tight, and then we need to do that loose chain one. So that loose chain one, which we do at the beginning of every row, loose chain one, then turn, find your first one chain space. You're always going to have a single crochet at the beginning. We skip that. That's why we do our loose chain one to get us over. Then our chain one space, it's going to be in between these V points. We work in between the colours and do a single crochet, but we need to remember to carry our yarn. It's very easy to forget to do that. So we're carrying, what colour are we carrying? We're carrying the purple this time. So if I can just bring that up to the top, make sure that's up there before we work our first single crochet into that chain one space. And exactly the same thing across. We chain one, skip the single crochet V thing, and work a one single crochet into the chain one space. Chain one, skip the single crochet V stitch. In between is our chain one space, which is where we're going to work our stitch. And you should start to see the points line up with each other when you work colour changes. Chain one, keeping that carry yarn on the top. Do our single crochet in the chain one space. Don't forget to chain one in between. And there we go. So just repeat this for as many rows as you want to do. The thing to remember is to always do that loose chain one at the beginning, so you've got it there for the end of the row, next row, and to carry your yarn before you work that first single crochet, and give it a little tug at the end. And we always start with that loose that loose chain, and we always end on a single crochet. So if you get to about here and you're like, oh, end on a single crochet, but it doesn't look like it's right on the edge, it's because we need to work into that loose chain, if you remember. So we chain one to get over this last single crochet, and then just to the left of that V, under that tiny little, that's why you have to keep it loose because it tends to disappear a bit. We work under or into that chain one space. Oh, as neatly as we can. Okay, and do our last single crochet. So always remember to work that last single crochet on the end, otherwise it's not gonna line up. And then once you've done that, we're just going to drop the green, bring up the next color, the purple, tighten that, do a nice loose chain one, even though it still gets tight. Turn, bring up your color so you can carry your color, and then work into that first one chain space. So there's your first V single crochet stitch. Next to that is going to be your first chain one space. Okay. And repeat the same thing all the way across. Chain one to the one chain space. So it's literally just going in between the colours, the green and the purple. You see the one chain space much clearer there. Chain one single crochet in the one chain space, and just do that all the way across. So I'll repeat this for a couple more rows just so we've got something to look at. But if you like working on my projects, then do share your projects with me on Instagram at HappyBerry Crochet, because I love seeing the projects you're working on, and I like reading all your comments, and I get to chat with you over there as well, chat with you here as well as best I can. Almost at the end again. Like I said, if you want to make this into a blanket, you just work an even number of stitches. So it's easy to research some baby blanket sizes, and then just work even stitches until you get to the measurement that you want, and then you can start working the pattern. So when you get to the end, you end on a single crochet, but we're not right on the end, so we need to work onto that loose chain one, if you remember. So we chain one to get over that last single crochet, and then just to the left of that V is going to be our chain one hidden under there, which went a bit neater than the last one. Okay, So there we go, that's it. So shall I do one more row? I'll do one more in green, one more in purple, and then we can have a look at the finished piece, finished swatch. So I'm going to drop the purple, do my loose chain 1, turn, bring up my colour to carry, which is the purple, and work into the first 1 chain space, which just lines up with all the other green stitches, which makes it easy to find where it goes. Chain 1. This creates a nice woven stitch, but is even more fun when worked with colours. So I hope you've enjoyed this stitch tutorial. I do have, if you've been following me on Instagram, I have been sharing some projects that I will release soon. There's like a little amigurumi baby. I still plan to release that at some point. I need to find time because it's a bigger project, a longer project. I need to find the time to film it. And also some little cube cats. If you've been checking out my cube cats on Instagram, I will be releasing a basic pattern for the cube cats as a video tutorial, and I'll put the written versions of the individual characters, like the colour changes, on my website at happyberry.co.uk. So, and I'm still working on my little book. It's coming along nicely, lots of really cute little patterns. Hopefully that'll be released the end of this year. See how it goes. Little things I'm working on. But there we go, we're just coming to the end. I'll make this my last row. And again, just find to the left of that V, under that green, should find its way under that chain 1 to your last single crochet. And there we go. There is our little swatch again that you saw at the beginning. So all the little ones, all the little stitches line up, and because we alternate every other row with the colour, you end up getting the little green stitches line up to create this kind of bead effect. It's quite cool, but make a lovely little bracelet, or you can work it into an afghan or a scarf, whatever you want to do. Just work to an even number of stitches. Remember to do your loose chain 1 at the beginning, and you end on that single crochet under your loose chain 1. But I'll see you soon for some more crochet fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.